Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Liam Rose. I'm an author, mentor, life coach, motivational speaker, evangelist, and musician. In this podcast and audio, we're going to be sharing a message for the Spiritually Helping Other People podcast. I've been sharing this podcast to inspire humanity to go through spiritual change, to learn about Jesus Christ, Jehovah, and Buddha, and to help humanity to help other people give back, make a difference, and a contribution. Now, within this message, we're going to be talking about something very different and very unique for this podcast and audio. It's very rarely I'll share these types of messages, especially this one. But I want to encourage the listeners and the viewers that this will be transformational if you can learn it. So, this message is not basically my message. It's from a philosopher many years ago called Krishnamurti. So the message we're going to share today, this is very important to learn, but it's very impactful if you can learn it. It's called the ending of time. So let's just repeat the message, the ending of time. Now, I'm not gonna say this as a rude statement or a rude thing. I'm just trying to get the message across. Now, first of all, what's the ending of time? What does that mean? So I've got my time with my career, I've got my time with my business, I've got my time with my family, I've got my time with my volunteering, I've got my time with my opportunities. Okay. What does the ending of time mean? So this becomes very spiritual once you've learned it. The ending of time means the no self and selflessness. How can the ending of time mean the no self and selflessness? That doesn't make sense because there's time in all parts of life. There's time when you go to work, come home. There's time when you're with your friends, with your family. There's times when you're with your children, with your spouse. There's times when you're in the community. There's time in everything in life. That wasn't the message that Krishnamurti was sharing. The message that Krishnamurti was sharing was the ending of time itself. So your life doesn't have a time to it, regardless of what you're doing. But isn't that odd? Because I've got a family that needs my time, I've got a career that needs my time, I've got friends that need my time, I've got a house and a car that needs my time, I've got real estate that needs my time, I've got bills and things I need to pay for that takes my time to get it. That's not learning the ending of time. The ending of time is when you've discovered the no self and selflessness, when there's no more self. Why is that so important when there's no more self? Because the world, civilization, humanity is always based on the self. Let me repeat that again slowly. Why is it so important to find ending of time, no self, selflessness? Because humanity itself is always based on the self. So if you don't find the ending of time within your own personal life, and I'm not saying to the viewer or the listener, you will just find it just by doing regular things. You can't find the message of what Krishnamurti was talking about by doing regular things. You have to be the opposite one. You have to be the different one. You have to be someone that's a bit different compared to what I said earlier. Humanity is based on the self. It's based on them, I, I, me, my, my. Whether people acknowledge it or not, whether people think about it or not, whether people realize it or not, most people are based on themselves, their opportunity, their relationship. their house, their car, their money, their income, their business, their volunteering, their career. It's all based on the self. So how do you really discover the ending of time? What is it gonna take? But I've got this going on, that going on, these things. Okay, we get that. We're not saying that human beings don't have commitments. I've got this going on, that going on. Okay, we get that, yeah? We get that, right? But how are you going to find the ending of time? How are you going to find the ending of just self egotism, selfish behavior? How will you find the ending of that? To find the ending of that, you need to go for a spiritual change. But I can't spiritually change that. I'm living myself, isn't it? I've got this going on, that going on. You're telling me to end time and discover no self and selflessness? That doesn't make sense. I've got this going on, that going on. I've got more money to make. I've got a bigger career to get. I've got more jobs to be occupied with. I've got this going on, that going on, these friends to look after, that family member to look after. I've got these problems, that problems to sort out. How can you tell me necessarily to learn the no self and selflessness? I've got commitments. I've got this. Okay. Like I said, I'm not saying that human beings don't have commitments. We get that. We get you have commitments. We get that this is going on, that is good. We get it. We get it. It's fine. It's okay. But when will you find the spiritual change of the ending of time itself? You're not in part of time. I'll repeat that again. You're not a part of time. You've transcended that. It's very look, believe you and me. Believe you and me. Like this isn't some easy thing to achieve in life. If you want to call it achievements, or this isn't something that the world population's gonna figure out. They are not going to figure it out. They are not going to find it. They will not understand it. It's not rude for a young person like me to mention it or say it in a podcast audio. They will never discover it. They will never find it. They will never see it. It will never happen in their life, because it goes back to what I said before. The world is the 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 world is full of I, I, me, my mentalities. That's what the world is full of. So for a spiritual person, for a faithful person, for a truthful person, if there are human beings like that, I'm not saying that every human being will get to this point in their life. I'm trying to get this. This wasn't. It's not my philosophy here. This wasn't my philosophy here. This was from Krishnamurti. So I'm just sharing a message from Krishnamurti. It's not my personal philosophy. It's not my personal philosophy. This was from Krishnamurti. He shared it in videos, books, audios, and talks. The ending of time is the ending of self. The ending of self is where spiritual freedom, spiritual liberation, the spiritual light that comes from within you comes from. So it's not saying you don't have a job. It's not saying you don't have a business. It's not saying you don't have a family and commitments. It's not saying you don't have opportunities. It's not saying that. What it's saying is spiritual change first, spiritual freedom, spiritual liberation. But what's the secret? Spiritual change first, spiritual freedom, spiritual liberation. When when you discover that the no self and selflessness has no time to it, you're not defined by your job. You're not defined by your career. You're not defined of what labels or people mention you as. You're more faithful. You're more spiritual. You're making such an impact and a difference to others. I haven't got on the topic of helping other people just yet, but we need to spiritually change to help other people in what they're going through. I'm not necessarily saying you can't help other people without spiritual change. There are hundreds to thousands to even millions of people who have helped other people without the spiritual change. But what's the reality? When the pressures of work come, when the hardships come, when you're trying to work and then it's difficult, it's tough, it's challenging, you can't move past your career, for example. You can't move past your opportunities, for example. You can't move past your job, for example. You can't move past your business, for example. You can't move past your volunteering, for example. You're always stuck in the same situations. When those challenges come, which happens to people who help other people, those challenges do come to people that help other people. They're stuck within the career they're in. They're stuck within the opportunity they're in. They're stuck. they're stuck within the work they do. They're stuck to it. They can't move. They can't progress from it. So what do you need? It goes back to a thing that I've been discussing in all my videos, all my books, and all my talks. Spiritual change. What do you need? Spiritual change. What do you need? Spiritual change. A change. What is the spiritual change? The spiritual change is a change of the psyche and the psychological mind. Again, what is spiritual change? The spiritual change is the change of the psyche and the psychological mind. So what do you need? What do you need as a spiritual change? How can this young person say a spiritual change? How can you say that Krishnamurti said the ending of time and the ending of the self, the ego, the self-esteem, the bigger this and that accomplishments? How can you say that? What do you know to say that? Huh? What do you know? Now, I'm not going to go into my story or anything like that because it's not irrelevant to this conversation. It's not so relevant. It may be important to some, but to me, it's not irrelevant. What's more relevant is going through a spiritual change. What's more relevant is changing the psyche and the psychological mind. What's more relevant is when I wouldn't say just helping other people, because that's going to be inspirational for some. Just helping other people. When you're just helping other people, that's going to be inspirational for some. For a lot of people, that'll be inspirational to them. You're just helping other people. Okay, fine. Those are those people. We get those people. They're doing their work. Okay, that's fine. But for a spiritual person, when you're making a massive difference, when you're making a massive contributions, when you're helping hundreds to thousands to millions of people within your life, that is where the spiritual change is. When you're helping hundreds to thousands to millions of people in your life, that is where the spiritual change is. That is where it is. Where you're helping hundreds and thousands and millions of people in your life. That is where the spiritual change is. So what do you need? You need to transcend just helping other people to the spiritual difference, the spiritual contributions, the spiritual significance, the spiritual impact, the spirituality, the faith and religion. You need to transcend just the work of helping other people to the spiritual contributions, the difference, the impact, the significance, the meaning, the value, the riches of it. You need to transcend just helping other people to the spiritual difference, impact, significance. Now, the question is, with the ending of time, does that mean the ending of your life? Should I repeat that again? So, does the ending of time mean the ending of your life? But I didn't get to help other people within my life. I didn't get opportunities to support people. I wasn't able to support anybody. I lived my life, Oh man. Does that mean the ending of your life? I don't think it does. I think what it means is the beginning of your life. So let me repeat that again. Let me repeat it again, please. Let me repeat it again, please. So does the ending of time mean the ending of your life? Oh, but I didn't get to help other people. I wasn't giving back at all. Oh man, I had this situation and these problems, and oh man, and I actually didn't get to contribute. I wasn't serving at all. I had this going on, those friends, those family members. I had this job, and look, I was. Does it mean the ending of your life, or does it mean you're actually reaching the beginning of your life? So, where does the meaning come from? Which is the question. Where does the value come from? If the ending of time means the beginning of your life and not the end of your life, where does the meaning come from? That's the question, isn't it? Where does the meaning come from? The meaning comes from when you've discovered the no self and selflessness. You're not thinking about your dinner. You're not thinking about your house. You're not thinking about your car. You're not thinking about your job. You're not thinking about your career. You're not thinking about your occupation. You're not thinking about your vocation. You're not thinking about your relationships. You're not thinking about it. Oh, but you can't just say that I've got these. I did explain before, everyone has commitments. Even people that have the spirituality and faith still have commitments. But what it truly is, you have to transcend all of that. I'm just getting this message across today. That's what I'm doing. What it is this. What it truly is this, and this is me trying to help as many people as I can in this audio and podcast, and I will be sharing it, and it will be available soon. What I'm trying to share is, now, think of life like this. I've explained this before. I've explained this in podcasts, audios, books before. I've actually explained it in my own contributions and my differences to many people within my life. I've explained it. People are selfish. People think about themselves. Once you've learned that people are selfish, when you've learned that, and it's not, look, I'm not saying that, look, just because people are selfish, you are going to be one of them. I am not saying that just because people are selfish, you'll be like the selfish people. I'm not saying that just because people are selfish, you'll live your life just the way they were living their life. I'm not trying to say that. What has been the inspiration all these years is the spiritual change of your life. That has been the inspiration all these years. It's not your accomplishments, your successful this and successful that, or prosperous this and prosperous that, or richer this and richer that. Okay, we get that. If you've got some of those riches, prosperity, happiness, joy in your life, okay, we get that. But you're going to miss out on the spiritual change of the psyche and the psychological mind. When you miss out on the spiritual change of the psyche and the psychological mind, what does it mean? It means you live a life for yourself. It means whatever you was doing within your life, whatever it is. Oh, but I'm getting successful. I'm getting richer. I'm getting more prosperous. Yeah, we get that. But it'll be based on yourself and not the spiritual contributions, not the spiritual impacts, not the spiritual significance, not the spirituality, not faith or religion. It will be based on something else. And that's the reality of what people are living in. They're living in a selfish mentality. Selfish. I didn't say selfless mentality. I said a selfish mentality. All they do is think about themselves. That is the world population. That is humanity for you. That is how people live their life. Oh, but yes, for me, and more for me, and I, and me, and look at me, and it is selfish when you live like that. It is selfish when you behave like that. It is selfish when you constantly think about the I, me, my mentality of your life. So something within your path will need to change. Change isn't spoken about in society. Change isn't spoken about in life. Change isn't people don't talk about change. But the question is, why would I change? What's gonna make me to change? What? I've got my job, isn't it? I've got my career, isn't it? Why are you telling me to change that? Why are you telling me to change that? Who are you to tell me to change that? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you to tell me to change that? Oh, I've got my career, isn't it? I've got my business. I've got my volunteering, isn't it? I've got my family and friends, isn't it? Who are you to tell me to change that? Who are you to tell me to change that? Who are you? Who are you to tell me to change that? Who are you? If I go into my story, then it might inspire people more, but I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing not to for a very particular reason. If I actually went into my story, it would inspire a lot of people. But I am choosing not to go into it. So the message is simple. If you want to find the ending of time, which is not my quote or my philosophy, it's just something I've learned, then you need to go through a spiritual change. If you go through a spiritual change, what does it mean? It means you change your whole life. It means that's what it means. If you go through a spiritual change, what does it mean? It means is you change your whole life. All of your life gets changed. The way you eat, the way you drink, the way you behave, the way you work, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you listen, the way you work. All of that gets changed. It's not the change that society talks about. It's not the change that people talk about. It's not the inspiration that people share. People normally share become a millionaire, become a billionaire, become successful, become prosperous, become rich. But you miss the opportunity to go through a spiritual change if you live your life like that. So what's the reality? Don't live your life like that. I repeat again, don't live your life like that. Oh, but you know what? Go do more. Help more. No, it's that beats the objective. It beats the objective. It's not about doing more or helping more. First, you have to change yourself before you get to help more. First, you have to learn something before you help more. First, you have to go for a spiritual change before you help more. So it's not about, oh, but I'm doing this career and getting into this. It beats the objective. It ruins the spirituality and the faith when you live like that. So it's not about, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this and that, look at me, I'm this and that. It beats the objective. You need to spiritually change first before you get opportunities to do other things. If you don't spiritually change first, then you can't do other things. I'm not saying that people haven't helped people without going through a spiritual change. Like I said earlier, I did say earlier, there's hundreds, thousands, millions of people that have helped other people without going through the spiritual change. But when you don't go through the spiritual change, your life doesn't become faith or spirituality. So the question is, what is faith and spirituality? It goes back to what I've already said, spiritual change. No, it's not spiritual change, it's something else. It's your career, for example. It's your massive business, for example. It's your wonderful volunteering. That's got nothing to do with spiritual change. It's the way you live your life. It's your inspiration. It's your motivation. It's your encouragement, isn't it? It's your mentality. No. It's got nothing to do with spiritual change. If you want to find your meaning, if you want to find your value, if you want your life to be something, not just, oh, but I had a career for 50 years and then, I retired. If you want your life to be something a bit... Oh, yes. Oh, yes. If you want your life to be something a bit different compared to what other people's lives are, but I worked for 50 years and then I retired. If you want something different within your life, you're gonna have to make some changes. Let's repeat it again. If you want something different within your life, you're gonna have to make some changes. And changes isn't an easy thing to do. If change was easy, then everybody would be talking about it, isn't it? Oh, but change. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do. Like I said, if change was easy to do, everybody would be talking about it, isn't it? Change. It's not easy to do. But what would you learn? What would you learn when you've not thought about yourself? The no self and selflessness. Your life becomes spiritual. Very, very spiritual. Very, very spiritual. And the question is, which is the ultimate question to learn, what does faith and spirituality give you? What faith and spirituality gives you, human beings can't give it to you. I'll repeat that again. What faith and spirituality gives you, human beings can't give it to you. So no matter how hard you work, no matter how successful you become, no matter how bigger this is, how bigger that is, no matter how bigger those things are and how achieving more, getting more, becoming more successful, I've accomplished a lot, I'm successful, I've achieved a lot. Okay, we get that. It's something that a human being can't give it to you. So why does it become so important? Because faith and spirituality is the love of life itself. You live your life faithfully. You live your life spiritually. You live your life truthfully. You're not concerned with self. You have transcended the self, the ego, the self-esteem, me, I, my. That has all been transcended. It's beyond the self it gives you. That's why I said, even before we got into this talk today, which it's not my quote or anything like that, I said at the very beginning of it, the no self, selflessness it gives you. It gives you the no self, selflessness. There's no more self within you. That's what it gives you. So, very hard lesson to learn. for me, I won't go into what really happened to me, because I think that would be a bit too inspirational, like I said. And there'll be times to share that, and there'll be times to talk about it, maybe within the future. All I'll share is that I watched a series. I'm just going to mention the series before we finish. There was a series that I watched. I don't know how young I was. I was probably maybe 24, 23 when I watched this series. I'm just gonna find it before we finish this audio and podcast today. It changed my life in so many ways, and you would never think just like a YouTube series would change your life. And for me, I never really thought a YouTube series would change my life in any way. I was just watching it to learn. That's why I was watching it. Now I'm just gonna find it. It's a very specific series, and it changed my whole life. It made my life how it is today. That's why I can. It's not, like I said earlier. It's not. This isn't my quote. It didn't come from me. It was by Krishnamurti. So it wasn't my quote. I didn't. It wasn't my quote. I never spoke about this philosophy. It wasn't my quote. Like I said, it just was. It actually wasn't. It wasn't my quote at all. But the series that I watched is it's very special. It's, to me, it's like I've probably watched this series probably maybe 30 to 40 times in my life. I've watched it over and over again, and it's like it's inspired me the most out of everything I've watched. I've watched a lot of different things. I've listened to stuff. I've done a lot of things within my life, but this series that I've watched, it's transformed me. I don't know how can a series transform you so much, but it has for me. I don't know how it has. It's transformed my life. It's made my life the way it is. I can't explain it in words. Like, I can't explain like, oh, but how can you say just a series on YouTube transformed your life? Because it was it was different from the very beginning when I watched it. It was different from the very beginning when I watched it. It transformed me. So the series is Krishnamurti and Dr. Alan Anderson. And this is what changed my life. I remember it like yesterday. It changed my life from where it was to how it is today. And the series is called A Wholly Different Way of Living. So I'm just repeating the series. A Wholly Different Way of Living by Dr. Alan and Krishnamurti. A wholly different way of living. So that's what transformed me. That was, for me, it was my first transformation before I was getting opportunities to do podcasts, audios, books, messages, talks, inspiring lives. This is what transformed me first. I remember it was the thing that transformed me first, because look, what will bring the spiritual change within your life? And this is my last point for this evening, and then I will have to get this online. What would inspire the spiritual change within your life? What would inspire it? How does it begin? But no, you can't spiritually change at all. You've got to live for the self all the time. How can you tell? How can you tell me to spiritually change myself? I can't. I'm living the self. I've got this and that. Okay. Then you wouldn't understand Krishnamurti's message, the ending of time itself. So the question is, before we finish, what would inspire the spiritual change within your life? And what would inspire the spiritual change within your life is this. Let me find it before I share it. It's just a scripture that comes to my mind. I know we're getting a bit off topic. I get that, but it makes a lot of sense to me as I'm going to read. I'm just going to find it first. I need to find it. So the scripture that I'm trying to find is basically called Faith Comes by Hearing. So I'm just trying to find it. Faith comes by hearing. So let's just find it. So Romans 10:17. I'm just gonna read it. And this is the whole reason why I'm making this podcast today. So let's just find this message. Let's just find the sermon. Sorry, not this message. This sermon in the scriptures. Let's just find it. So it says Romans 10, chapter 10, verse 17. Continuously, faith comes from hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word of Christ. So again, continuously, well, generously or continuously, faith comes by hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word about Christ. So again, faith comes from hearing, and hearing the message, and the message is heard through words about Christ. So faith comes through hearing, and hearing the message, and that's what brings the quality of Christ within you. So listen to what I've said today and really let this inspire you within your life. If you want the ending of time within your life, you've got to go through a spiritual change. And the spiritual change is what changes life itself. You can't be selfish when you've gone through a spiritual change. You can't think about house, car, money, friends, relationships when you've gone through a spiritual change. You are not focused on the self at all, or anything that the self provides. That's not going to bring the faith. That's not going to bring the spirituality. That's not going to make you, like I said within this podcast and audio already, spiritual differences, spiritual impacts, spiritual significance, spiritual meaning, spiritual value. Only when you've gone through a spiritual change will you find it. You will find it. You will find it within your life. You will find it in your life when you've gone through a spiritual change. And then the question is, what is it going to take to spiritually change? And I'll tell you what it takes to spiritually change. I'm not going to go into my story today because I could actually talk about it, but it may just upset the viewers and it may upset the listeners. So I think, should I just share it? I'm just thinking, should I just share it? Should I go into it? Should I actually go into it before we finish? Should I go into it? What it really is? Should I go into it? Should I go into it? Okay. All right. Before we finish, I'm gonna go into it, and then I'm gonna finish the podcast and the audio after this. I'm not gonna go too deep into every aspect of it because that will take another. I've already spoken for like 37 minutes. That will take another probably to an hour to 2 hours to really go into the whole aspect of it. Now, I'm going to explain it in simple terms and in simple ways, right? And it goes back to what I just said, faith comes by hearing the message. You hear the message, and then you discover the Christ within you. So, what happened for me? What was my story? What happened to me? What was my story? How did I change? How did I gain faith and spirituality at such a young age? I'm only young. I'm not old at all. I'm only 36 at the moment, but I've been doing my work and doing my opportunities for over probably 13 to 12 years now. So how did I gain the faith? How can a young person at this age gain it? And what did he say when he was saying gained it? He didn't say it's based on self. He said it's based on not a human being thing. For me, it was the faith that came from hearing and hearing the word of Christ. So the faith came from the hearing. So the faith came from the hearing. So let me go briefly. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I don't want to upset any listeners or any viewers who watch my content. If you want me to go deeper into what have happened to me, then I've already got books about it. I've got audios about it, and I've shared it probably hundreds or thousands of times already. So just find my channels, find my content, and you'll be able to see what happened. But for me, what was it? So it started basically. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm just going to go specific point to point to point to point, and then to get to this point. For me, I basically was young, as any young person was, and I'm not saying I wasn't young. I was. I was about probably like 23, 22, well, 20, well, 21, 24 when all this was happening, right? Deep down, this podcast, if you want to call me that by definition of the podcast, I get that. You can call me a podcaster or just my name, Christopher Liam Rose. That's fine, whatever suits you. I wasn't helping other people in my life. I wasn't doing podcasts. I wasn't writing books. I wasn't in careers. I wasn't in jobs. I didn't have opportunities. I really didn't have anything when I started. I basically was a musician before all of this. So my life starts from music. I've mentioned this before in videos and I've mentioned this before in talks. My life started in music. It wasn't helping other people. So people think music, but you've got tattoos, long hair. You don't look like a musician, do you? I'm not saying I look like a musician or I do look like a musician. I'm just trying to share my story the way it is. So for me, my life didn't really start from helping other people. That wasn't part of my life at some point. So what changed me? I'll tell you what changed me and then we'll finish the podcast after this. Now, I was in, basically when I was about, like I said, 21 to 24, right? I had a relationship, right? So I was young, thought this was the love of my life, was in a relationship, living my life, music, videos, YouTube, content, recording music. I've probably wrote and written over how many albums now? Maybe, I don't know, 100 to 250 albums in such a short space of time. So I was a musician doing music, recording, writing songs, performing, recording, posting music, sharing music. So I never thought I would be helping other people in my life. I never thought it, to be very honest. It's just when I was younger, it wasn't part of my mentality. It wasn't part of my life. I actually, to be very honest, if I'm being quite honest in the audio and the video today, or the podcast today, I actually, to be very honest, I didn't want to help people at the beginning of my life. It wasn't my desire at all. I just didn't want to help people. It's just something for me. It just wasn't like that. I just didn't want to. I didn't had no desire to. I had no aspiration to. I didn't want to. I was happy. I was happy doing music. I was happy in my relationship. I was happy doing what I was doing. I didn't need to help people. I didn't need to work. I didn't need to own a business. I didn't need it. I was happy the way I was. I was content with the way I was. I was happy about it. I was fine with it. I didn't need anything. I was in my relationship, doing my music as my own entrepreneurial pursuits. Like I didn't need to support people or anything like that. I didn't want to. I just didn't want to, and I didn't need to. And this is what I was trying to explain to you, listeners and people watching earlier. Life is going to come with its challenges. Life will come with its challenges. So then what happened for me? Life came with its challenges. And this is my story. This isn't for anyone else's story or anyone's inspiration. This is my own personal story and I'm just sharing it the way it is. So specifically, let's go into it. And I'm not going to go too long. There will be times when I could go longer into my story, but this is just the simple part of it. Now, when I was younger, this is over, like, I was like probably 23 at the time, turning 24, 25 at the time. I was just living my life, like I said, music, relationship, thought I was successful and stuff like that. Tattoos on my skin of success, happiness, tattoos on my body of life is what you make it, tattoos on my face, tattoos on my ears. I'm not perfect at all. I'm just a person that's been helping others. But then life happened for me. Life happened. What happens in your life? Suffering, pain, and adversity. So you said life happened. What happened in your life? Suffering, pain, and adversity. Now, this happened when I was about, specifically, I would say 23, 24, right? It goes back to what I said earlier within the podcast and audio when I mentioned the podcast I listened to. I'm just sharing my story. This isn't for any other person. This is my personal story of what happened. So what happened was, this is specifically what happened. I was listening to this podcast, right? And Krishnamurti, Dr. Allen, talking about a wholly different way of living. I was actually listening to it, right? I was listening to the podcast on YouTube. I think I was in my Pacific flat at the time as well. I was just listening to the podcast. So I was just listening to it, learning from it, trying to understand it, trying to process the information. Just as a young person, you don't know anything you don't know anything better. You're just learning, you're young. You're only 23, 24 at the time. So you're just learning. You're trying to learn something, understand something, process something, find something. You just that's how you are, right? As I started to listen to this series of the messages, and I was just listening constantly. I'll go more into it in a second. I was just listening. Just, I don't know why. It just made sense to me. Like every time I listened to it, it just made sense. I was listening, learning more, and then the more I listened, the more I understood. The more I listened, the more I learned. The more I listened, the more I understood and understand things. And I was just learning, and this was way before what I was doing now. This was like 23, 24. I was way younger than I am now. I'm only 36, but I'm just trying to share the difference that I've made. So I was very, very young, just listening, learning, like processing information, like finding information. I was just learning, right? And then I don't know why my life turned this way. It just turned this way. I lost my relationship, right? So my relationship I thought was the love of my life at the time. I was only 23, 24 at the time. I actually thought she was the love of my life. Broke up with me. So my partner broke up with me. So I was like, oh, but I don't have a relationship no more. I'm alone again. What's gonna happen to me? Like, and then obviously, as I went through the breakup, as a young person would, you broke up from your partner. You've become alone. You're now single again, and it doesn't look like that life is gonna be great for you anymore. Going through the process of this is my own personal suffering, pain, and adversity. Going through the process, right? And then, yes, things took turns for the worse for me. Took a deep turn for the worse. So specifically in the 30th of September 2014, which is actually past the anniversary of when it happened. So I was at home doing a music video when I was younger. Like I said, before all of my contributions, I was a musician. I wasn't a helper, or I wasn't a helper, or like entrepreneurial, or a podcaster, and I wasn't actually like that. It wasn't my story, and it wasn't my path. I was a musician before everything else. I actually was a musician, and then I'm at home alone. I was going through suffering, pain, and adversity because I've got my own conditions of mental health, schizophrenia, psychosis, and depression, and I never knew my life would take a turn for the worse. So as I'm at home doing my music video, I think I was burning candles at the time or something like that, and just basically at home. Back then I wasn't in employment or jobs, opportunities. I wasn't working. I was just a musician trying to make a life for myself as a musician after the breakup and going through that process. And then my life changed. And then in the 30th of September 2014, I lost everything. Now the question is, what do you mean you've lost everything? That doesn't make sense in your story. It sounds so odd for a young person. You lost everything? That's not true, right? You've got a home now. You've got opportunities now. You're working now. You're employed now. No, but look past what I've achieved in my own personal life to find the secret. The secret is I lost everything, so I became homeless. I don't want to explain it too deep, but I'll just go a little bit more into it. So when you've lost everything, you became homeless. What happened then? It didn't happen from coincidence. It didn't happen because I just necessarily said I wanted to become homeless. I went through. I'm not going to go too deep into the explanation. I'll just say it briefly, but not too deep into the explanation because it'll take more time. I went through a fire. I've explained it before in my videos and my books. A fire, right? Oh, but what do you mean a fire? That doesn't make sense. It's true. It's part of my life. It's not something I don't hide it. If someone really wants to know me, then they'll have to know what I went through, and that is the specific thing that I went through. So how can that change your life so much? But like I said, I was going through a journey, right? So what I was doing before all of that I went through the suffering, I went through the pain. I know how it feels like. But I listened to the podcast, I listened to the audio series, I listened to the YouTube videos. So for me, in my own personal journey, as I was going through the homelessness, mental health difficulties, I was really at rock bottom at some point in my life. I was at deep rock bottom. Like you can't experience the rock bottom that I've experienced and then try to find a way out of it. It's it is very, very difficult to find a way out of it, but I managed to do that. It's not easy to find a way out of it. No, it's not. It's very, very difficult. And then this is when my life started to change. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not going into the full story. It takes too much time, so I choose not to do that. So what changed me? Well, how did a musician with tattoos, long hair, do-rags, braids, jeans, shoes, clothes and possessions get into the working vocation? I've always mentioned these two people in every book, video, podcast and audio that I've shared. Paul Dorrington and Karen Michigan helped me. I've been helped within my life. So I repeat it again. Paul Dorrington and Dr. Karen Michigan helped me. So when I was going through, like I said, homelessness, depression, there's times I wanted to give up on things. There was times when I thought, you know what, I've just suffered too much. There's no freedom from this. I have to. Well, for me, there's the only option I have is live through it, move on, move forward. So as I was going through this, experiencing it, going through my own pain, going through my suffering, and it is a journey of life itself. It's a massive journey of life itself. As I was going through all of this, then I realized I need to make a difference. I realized I need to make a contribution. I realized I need to impact in some way. So it wasn't necessarily just a simple way of getting to what I've done in my life. It was very hard. My journey is the most. There's no harder journey than my journey. My journey is not. It's not an easy journey. I haven't even explained things that I've gone through in the past, and I'm not going to. My journey is not an easy journey to find. It's the hardest journey to find, because how can you say you was homeless before you have everything in your life? How can you say that? It doesn't. Naturally, it doesn't look like that now. It looks like you've got everything. But you miss my faith and you miss my spirituality when you view me like that. Oh, but yeah, you're young and yeah, so what? But yeah, you're successful. No, I'm not. But yeah. No. You miss the spirituality. You miss the faith on my personal life when you view me in that way. So you're not meant to view me as, oh, I'm just successful just because I'm tattooed and I'm a young person. View me in that way, then you miss what I've been doing. You're not meant to view me as, oh, but you're great, you're fantastic. Don't view me in that way. Don't look at my life in that way, because my life is not what you call the simple life. My life is not what you call the what's the word for it? The average life. My life is not what you call, oh, you didn't go through stuff in your life. No, my life it's got all of that included. It's got all of that included. Yes, I did go through things in my life. Yes, I did suffer things in my life. Yes, I have gone through pain and suffering and adversities and challenges in my life. But I choose not to stay there. I choose not to live there. I choose not to be in that situation. I choose to get a way out. I choose to find a situation to get myself out of it. I choose to find a way to overcome it. I choose the way to make a difference. I choose the way to help. I choose it, right? So don't view it in that way that I haven't paid some prices, and don't view it in that way. If you view it in that way, you'll miss what I've been doing in my life. And this is why I'm sharing my story today, because the reason why I'm sharing my story today, it's not based on me. It's not based on my house. It's not based on my motorbike. It's not based on my career. It's not based on my car. It's not based on my clothes. It's not based on my whatever I've got in my life. It's not based on that. It's my life was different from the very beginning of it. 2 people came into my life. 2 people. That's all it took for me. 2 people. 2 people. All it took for me to change was meeting 2 people. That's all it took for me to change. If I didn't meet these 2 people, I would not be doing what I'm doing. So then the question for me, I've shared my story now. I can go into what I've been doing for the number of years. I can really go into it, but I don't wanna keep on talking without sharing the information. I just want to share it. So what I'm trying to say is, spiritual change is when your spiritual life will change. So you're not meant to be someone that goes, oh, but I'm successful with this and I've got that and look at all that is a self-esteem and an ego. You need to change that before you think about anything in life. You will need to go through a change, and if you don't go through a change, which is for me, it's not. I don't say my story is like look, I don't say my story is like what would you. This young person's story is what you call a successful story. No, it isn't. This young person's story is what you call the prosperous story. No, it isn't. This young person's story is what you call the blessed story. No, it isn't. My story is for me and the people who have helped me together. That is for me and the people that have helped me together. That is why I do what I do. I do what I do based on Paul Dorrington and Karen Michigan. I don't do what I do based on people. I haven't done what I've done based on family. I haven't done what I've done based on another successful person. It's got nothing to do with other people. This audio is for Krishnamurti, who got me to this point when I watched the videos. The future aspirations of my life are for Paul Dorrington and Karen Michigan. So, I haven't even talking about my faith or my religious beliefs just yet. But I've gone through a process within my life. I've gone through a change within my life. All I see now is the change that I've gone through. I don't view myself as your tattooed long hair as the most successfulest. How can someone that's gone through homelessness the way I did be the most successfulest? It doesn't. It's not meant to make sense, isn't it? It doesn't make sense. How like think of it like realistically. How can someone that's gone through what I've been through, the homelessness, be the most successfulest? It would not make sense to people. It just doesn't make sense. So it's not, whatever I've done in my life and whatever, it's not based on me. It's not based on you're the one, you're the good one. I'm not good. I'm not the one. I'm not great. I'm not fantastic. I'm not inspirational. I'm not motivational. I'm just someone, like I said in the podcast when I got a little bit more passionate in the message. I'm just someone that made a decision to make a difference. I'm just someone that chose to make a decision to make an impact. I'm just someone that chose to make a contribution. I'm just someone. Oh yes. I'm just someone that chose it. That's basically what it was. I'm just someone that chose it. So there you go. So like I said, if you really want to I would just say find faith in spirituality. Or if you want to go into religion, maybe I've spoken about a bit about religion before. I haven't gone too much into it, and I don't think it's like me to go too much into it. I don't think for other people it'd be very appropriate for them, but for me, yeah, just what Paul and Karen did for me is what motivates me. So what I'm basically trying to say is this, which is the last bit of the audio and the podcast now, and we'll finish after this. Now, my story isn't based on money. Let's just put that to start off with. My story isn't based on like what I've achieved. My story isn't based on what I've achieved or my personal accomplishments. It's based on two people that helped me when I was homeless when I was 24 and now I'm 36. Do the calculations of how many people I've helped between 24 to 36. Do the calculations. It'll be quite an inspirational number when you discover that. I'm not going to I can't tell the viewers or the listeners how many people that is. Because when you do the no self and selflessness, you don't count how many people you help. You don't count what jobs you're in. You don't count basically what you've done for others. You don't count it. It's not like irrelevant to it. It's just you've made a difference, you've made a contribution, you've made an impact. You haven't lived your life going house, car, money, friends, relationship, food, drink, love, romance, holidays, weekends, parties, socializing, gatherings, misbehaving, fooling around, playing games, joking, laughing, Twitter posting, Instagram posting, Facebook looking. You have not you have not lived your life like that. You have not lived your life like that. Yes. So I'm going to share the inspiration one more time and then we're going to finish for this evening. So, what Krishnamurti was really talking about, what he was really talking about is spiritual change. Your life, when you think about your life, it's a very short, I'm not going to go too deep into this. I've explained this before, but I don't want to go too deep into it. Just very short in this last bit of the podcast today. So, your life, when you think about it, right? No human beings live to billions of years. Nope. No human beings live to thousands of years. Nope. No human being lives to hundreds of years. No. So, why I was saying the ending of time, why I was actually making this audio and this podcast today, is this is what it really is about. This is what it's really about. This is what it's really about. This is what it's really about, which I'm going to explain. I want to inspire those people who want to go on the journey. Yes. I want to inspire those people that want to go on the journey. Yes. I want to inspire the people that want to go on the journey. Because if life is very short, birth, life, death, no human being lives to millions, hundreds or thousands of years. So go on the journey of a spiritual change. Go on the journey of a spiritual difference. Go on a journey of a spiritual impact. Go on the journey of a spiritual significance. Go on the journey where you're not thinking about yourself. Go on the journey. And if you go on the journey, what do you expect? What do you get from it? The no self. Selflessness. So, if you get the no self and selflessness when you go on the journey, why isn't that the most important? Why isn't that not the most the most motivational thing in life? Because you've got to go on the journey. It starts from the journey. For me, I was very young when I was on my journey. Not like what I've got now. I'm not going to explain it. I am not going to explain it. I will not explain what I've got in my life now. I will not explain that. I don't care in whatever talk I do. I'm not going to explain that. All I'm going to say is I'm on the journey. I'm on the journey. That's basically what I'm trying to get at. I'm on the journey, right? And when you're on the journey, yeah, that's where you start to see. Okay, I'll put it to you this way. When you go on this journey, and I'm gonna. This will be the last bit for the talk today. And I'm so happy that I've made this. I'm so happy about it. But I can't. For me, I can't spend all day talking about it because I have commitments. Like anyone has commitments. So this will be the last bit. When you go on the journey of spiritual change, you do not want anything. This is what it actually makes you live like. This is very true. It's the surest thing of all. You don't want anything from anybody. I'll put it again. You don't want anything from anybody. You don't want it. Oh, but give me the house, give me the car, give me the friends, give me the relationship, give me the stuff, give me the goods, give it to me, please. When I'm explaining it. When you go on the journey of spiritual change, you do not want nothing from anybody. Nobody will give you the spiritual change. Even for me. I may have been on this path. I may have been doing what I've been doing in my life. I may have been contributing, helping, serving, impacting so many people's lives. But it's like what Paul and Karen taught me when I was 23, 24. I'm going to have to go on my journey. I'm going to have to do my work. I'm going to have to make my difference. You can't give that to somebody else. You can't inspire a person in that way. You can't necessarily tell a person to live like that. You cannot do that. You've got to find it the same way as other people are finding it. So what's the reality? You've got to find it. You've got to find it. That's the reality of it. That's the reality. The reality is you have got to find it. Find it in life. Find it. That's the reality. Because spiritual change can't be given to somebody who doesn't want to accept the spiritual change. Spiritual change can't be given to somebody who doesn't want to go on the journey of spiritual change. Spiritual change can't be given to somebody who doesn't want to learn. He doesn't want to learn anything about the spiritual change. So, what's the reality? The reality is, as I'm aware of it, we all have to go on a spiritual change. That's the reality of it. I've gotten passionate in this podcast. I've spent nearly an hour on this podcast, but and like I said, this wasn't my philosophy here. It wasn't, from the very beginning, as I said, it wasn't my philosophy. But the question is, and this is the question, and this would be the last point. I could keep on going, but I have to get ready to sort out things. If spiritual change is so important in life, if it's so important, and it really is so important, if it's really that important, if it's really so important, the question is why can't people find it? Which is the question. Why can't people find it? Why? But I've got this job and this career and this house and this car and this money and okay, that's fine. That's okay. You're gonna have to learn it because it goes back to what I said in the scripture, Romans 10:17. Consistently, faith comes by hearing, and hearing the message to hear the word of Christ. So faith comes by hearing. The more you listen, the more you read, the more you help, the more you contribute, the more you serve, the more you impact, the significance you make, is the more you're going to keep hearing. If you hear once and then you go back to your normal life, then you hear once and go back to your normal life. If you hear again, do this. Again, do that. Again, live like this. Again, behave like that. Again. If you keep listening and listening again and again and again, that's when the learning comes, because you have to pick it up. It's like something you have to, I wouldn't say catch or anything like that. It's like something you have to pick it up in life. Pick up the inspiration, pick up the motivation, pick up the encouragement, pick it up. Learn from it. And learn from it. When I mean learning, I'm just gonna get this brief into the message today. When I say learning, I'm not saying you learn and then go to a party, for example. You learn and then go on a holiday, for example. You learn and then watch TV or something. Very, very spiritual people, just like me. I'm just one of them. That's where it is true. I'm just one of the spiritual ones. Very spiritual people. What are they spending most of their time doing? I'll tell you the secret, which is they spend most of their time learning. Again, what do most spiritual people spend their time doing? They're not always working. They're not always at home. They're not always in the community. They're not always socializing. They're not always eating food and drinks. They're not always like fooling around. They're not like that. It's just the spiritual people are not like that. So what are spiritual people normally doing? What are they normally doing? They're learning. They're spending time learning. When you make it a habit to spend time learning, and learning doesn't mean necessarily going to school, college, or university, or reading just one book. Every part of your life needs to be learning. All parts of your life. And that's the thing what I'm talking about, right? When it's the ending of time. The ending of time means you're free. You're free as a human being when you've discovered that. You're free. Oh, but does freedom mean money? Does freedom mean a house? Does freedom mean a car? Does that mean freedom? That's not the freedom that Krishnamurti was talking about. That's not the freedom that Paul and Karen taught me. That's not the freedom that going to my faith life Doug Hewitt Mills have taught me. That's not the freedom we're talking about. The freedom we're talking about is this: spiritual freedom, spiritual liberation. You're free from the self. You're free from the self. That's what it means. That's why when I explained what I've actually gone over my time of what I was meant to be discussing in the subject. I've told a bit about my story, not all of it, but freedom from the self, the liberation. You're free. You can live your life going, do you know what? I've made my difference. I've impacted. I made an impact. I've helped. I've served. I don't need house, car, and money to do what I'm doing. I don't need food or drinks or relationships to do what I'm doing. I don't need another stuff to do what I'm doing. I'm free from that. I can live my life free. Not worrying about a house, not worrying about a car, not worrying about money, not worrying about clothes, food, drinks. Not worrying about that. It's not a concern anymore. You've transcended that. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up now. I think I've shared quite a lot in this message. It's a lot to process. This one is it is a lot to process. It's a lot to process. But the final message is: if you want, and this is for the people that want to inspire this spiritual change that we're talking about. If you inspire the change that we're talking about, if you really inspire to actually, and the question is, what is the question? The question is living it in your life. So again, what is the question? Living it within your life. If you really desire the spiritual change, which is what it's gonna take in your life, it's gonna take for you to spiritually change. That's the only message that I have to talk about in this podcast today. It's gonna take that to find the ending of time. If you want to go through a spiritual change, if you really want to go through a spiritual change, I'm just going to share the 5 ways of how you do it. There's 5 ways of how you do it. Each of these 5 ways are the ways that you can get to this point. Get to the point of where, do you know what? You don't need a house. You don't need a car. You don't need money. You don't need friends. You don't need relationships. You don't need food. You don't need drinks. You don't need it. You don't need it. You wouldn't need it. You wouldn't need it. You'll transcend that. You'll transcend that. So to get to this point, the 5 spiritual practices it takes. It takes 5 spiritual practices. All of these 5 spiritual practices need to be done. If you like, how can I put it this way? If you like, people say, but 5 spiritual practices, that sounds it's so difficult to do. It is not difficult to do if you find the time for it. But 5 spiritual practices sound so difficult to do. It is not difficult to do if you find the time for it. So 5 spiritual practices. This is what will change you. This is what will change you. This is basically what I learned from Krishnamurti. I think I actually learned it from. I think he was the first person that taught me this actually. The 5 spiritual practices, which I learned from my listening. I learned it many years ago. So the question is, what are they? Okay. Prayer, meditation, mindfulness, walking, journaling. 5 spiritual practices. Prayer, meditation, mindfulness, walking, journaling. Prayer, meditation, mindfulness, walking, journaling. The 5 spiritual practices. If you do the 5 spiritual practices, which is, it changes your life when you do it. It actually changes your life. When you do the 5 spiritual practices, prayer, meditation, mindfulness, walking, journaling, when you do it, make it an effort to do it. Make the time to do it. Find the time to do it. Make the time to do it. Find the time to do it. Find the time to do it. Find the time. If you're busy, still find the time. If you've got commitments, still find the time. If you're socializing, find the time. Find the time. Find the time to do it. Find the time. But the 5 spiritual practices, when you've done it, you start thinking, oh, okay, I've got to pray, I've got to do meditation, I've got to do mindfulness, I've got to do walking, I've got to do journaling. This is going to be a very commitment thing to do. When you learn, it becomes a habit. Everything that gets taught in life becomes a habit when you learn. So, same way as if you're brushing your teeth, the same way as if you're making coffee, the same way as if you're going to work. It's all a learning process. So learn. Spend the time, make the effort. I'm going to pray. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do mindfulness. I'm going to do walking. I'm going to do journaling. Make the effort. If you make the effort, it's not going to happen like I'm explaining it today. It's not going to happen just like people say it's just going to happen today. No. Spiritual change just doesn't happen in a day. It takes time. So you go on the journey first, yeah? Prayer, meditation, mindfulness, walking, journaling. It starts. Okay. I'm going to pray today for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I'm going to meditate with friends or family for 20 minutes. I'm going to do mindfulness in a park or in the gym for 15 minutes. I'm going to journal and walk 15 to 20 minutes. Okay? Make it a habit. Start doing it daily. I'm going to journal every day. I'm going to walk every day. I'm going to pray every day. I'm going to do mindfulness every day. I'm going to do meditation every day. Make it a habit. Slowly, time goes by, yeah? Things slowly will change. Not quickly, it's not a quick one. Slowly will change, yeah? And then go, okay, I'm learning things. I'm processing things. I'm understanding things. Keep it going. Because the 5 spiritual practices is to keep it going. You don't just do it, get into a comfortable state, and then you stop doing it. It's continuing. You continue to do it. So I'm going to pray. I'm going to do meditation. I'm going to do mindfulness, walking, journaling. Keep it going. Keep it going. Slowly. This is exactly what happened to me. So that's why I'm explaining it. Slowly, after let's put it for me it was about how quick was not quick. Sorry, how. When did I really discover what I had to do in my life? It took me about from homelessness. It took me about nearly it wasn't that long actually. It took me about, let me think. So homelessness in 2014, and then by 2015 I was helping other people. So it actually took me about a year. So let me repeat that again. So like I said, the prayer, the meditation, the mindfulness, the walking, the journaling. Make it a daily habit. Make it a daily habit. Slowly, then your life will start to change. Slowly, then you'll start to learn more. Slowly, then you'll process things more. Slowly, you will develop the qualities of what. I'm not going to go too deep into it. You'll develop the qualities of faith and spirituality slowly. That's why when I say the 5 spiritual practices, I didn't say you would just, how can I put it, stop your career job and then just do the 5 spiritual practices and that will be it. No, it's a continuing thing you need to do every single day. Prayer, meditation, walking, journaling, and mindfulness. It's a consistent, you have to consistently do it. Now, the question really is this. Why does prayer, meditation, mindfulness really change you? Which is the question. Because faith and spirituality is based on your relationship with your Creator, which is normally based on. So if you don't develop a relationship with your Creator is not your family. Your Creator is not your car. Your Creator is not your house. Your Creator is not your job or your career. That's not your Creator. True faith and spirituality comes when you have a connection with Jesus Christ, Jehovah, and Buddha. This is the whole reason why I didn't go into religion, because if I go into religion, it's important to learn religion. And I'm not saying there won't be times when I can talk about religion. It's important to learn religion, of course. The religion is what built our civilization. Of course, it's very important. The 5 spiritual practices focuses on you first. So let me put that again before we finish. The 5 spiritual practices focuses on you first. So if you do have a faith in religion, you'll still have to focus on you first anyway. So you can't just necessarily say faith in religion and spirituality if you don't focus on you first. So when I say the ending of time, doesn't mean the ending of your life like I was explaining earlier today. It means the beginning of your life. It means your life is moving on into more contributions. And in life, contributions is basically what life is all about. How do you contribute? How do you serve? Where are you giving back and making a difference? Where are you impacting lives? Where is your significance? Where is your impact? What difference are you making? Can you look at yourself in the mirror and say you've made an impact? Can you look yourself in the mirror? Can you say you've made a contribution today? Can you look yourself in the mirror and go, I've impacted. I've changed people's lives. I've lived a life making a difference. Can you honestly say that to yourself? And if the question for people who are listening, if you can't honestly say that to yourself, you've made an impact, you've made a difference, you've helped, you've served, you've given back, you've contributed, you've impacted, you've made your significance, you've made a difference. If you can't honestly say that to yourself, if you can't honestly say that to yourself, it means you still need to go on the journey. Because the journey of what I'm talking about is faith and spirituality. And then when people understand faith and spirituality, that's when they learn religion. Again, so when people understand faith and spirituality, that's when they begin to learn religion. So you have to find faith and spirituality before you find religion. You don't find religion before faith and spirituality. It doesn't work like that. And a lot of people will do that. They'll find religion and then somehow find faith and spirituality. No, it starts with you. You've got to find faith. You've got to find spirituality. You've got to discover your difference in life. You've got to discover that. If someone tells you they can give it to you, don't listen to them. If someone tells you they can inspire you in that way, don't listen to them. Because in faith and spirituality, this is when it gets very simple. And then we'll finish from today. With faith and spirituality, you learn it yourself. You learn it yourself. You can't have faith in spirituality if you haven't learnt it yourself. So what's the reality? Everything starts with you, isn't it? Everything starts with what do you do for others? What do you do for yourself? What do you do for your family? What do you do for your career? What do you do for your business? What do you do for your volunteering? What do you do for your inspiration? What do you do? What are you doing? Who are you helping? Who are you serving? So it starts with you. That's why when I say faith and spirituality, I don't mean religion. Just before we finish, when I say faith and spirituality, I don't mean religion. Religion comes into it once you've discovered faith and spirituality. It's like what Romans 10:17 was saying. It's just to end the audio now. It's like what it's saying. If you don't necessarily hear faith, then you can't listen to the message of what Christ has given you. If you don't hear faith, so it's not you talk about faith. It's not you be with people and let them tell you your faith. You've got to hear faith. You've got to find faith. You've got to see spirituality. You've got to find it. And people will live selfishly without discovering their spirituality. And that is what our civilization is actually. That's what we're looking at the moment in life. Selfish humans. Selfish people. The selfish ego. And before we finish, you cannot be one of them. You cannot be one of them. Let me repeat it again. You cannot be one of them. You cannot be one of them. If you really want to discover faith and spirituality, you cannot be one of them. If you don't discover the faith and spirituality of life, you will become one of them. A selfish human being who hasn't made a difference. A selfish human being who hasn't contributed. A selfish human being who just went house, car, money, friends, relationships, stuff, and lived their life like that. So you can't be one of them. You can't be one of them. You can't be one of them. You've got to spiritually change. And when you spiritually change, that is when you find the no self and selflessness. And when you find the no self and selflessness, You will never think about car, house, money, food, drinks, friends, relationships, or what stuff comes into your life, because you're immune from all of that. You're not worried about it. It doesn't concern you. You're more making your difference, making your impact, serving a lot of people. Like I said, the millions, the billions, the hundreds, the thousands of people are being served. Not by anybody else, but for the people who go through the spiritual change. Okay, let's finish now. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up. Yes. Okay. I hope this has helped somebody today. And just remember this message. Just remember, if you want to listen to what Krishnamurti was talking about, and I've mentioned the series, so just go on YouTube and you'll find it. If you really want to go on the journey, then I recommend start by learning every day. And the best way to learn every day is this: journaling. Start by learning every day, and that's the thing with journaling, right? Which is very important for people. You don't have to journal when you have reached success. You don't have to journal when you're richer within your life. You can journal today. Buy a book, buy a notepad, get a pen, write, journal. Simple. It's as simple as that. Journal. Start. Then learn more. Grow from your journaling. Keep on going. 5 spiritual practices. Keep on going. Keep on going. Keep on going. Keep on going. Keep on going until you can say, okay, I've learnt enough. I've journaled enough. Now I'm ready. So don't get to that point until you've learnt enough. Until you've learnt enough, then you can say, okay, I've journaled enough, I've read enough, I've watched enough YouTube videos, and then you can say to yourself, okay, now I'm ready. I'm ready to go on a journey. I'm ready, fully ready to go on a journey, ready to help, ready to serve, ready to give back, ready. I'm ready for the journey now. I'm ready. I've learned, I've read, I've studied. Yeah, I'm ready now. I'm ready. And that's when you can make your spiritual difference. But you don't make your spiritual difference until you spiritually change before you can contribute. And that's with the work. Just before we finish now, I keep on talking. I don't know why I keep on talking. I want to try and finish it. Something's telling me to keep on talking, but I can't keep on talking all night. I can't. Something's telling me to just keep on talking, but I shouldn't do that. Look, I put it to you this way, and this will be the last point I make, right, for this podcast and audio. In life, there's only 2 different types of people. So let's just keep it as simple as this. There's 2 different types of people in life, right? There's the ones that will listen to Krishnamurti's messages and start to do the work of helping other people. There are those types of people who could actually sit down, learn, listen, process, understand, learn it, move on, help and contribute. The ones that, and we call those people normally the spiritual ones. And then you've got the second type of people, the followers. They follow social media, they follow Instagram, they follow Facebook, they follow Twitter, they follow YouTube. They're somehow always on their phones looking at it. They're posting, they're Twitter chatting, they're Instagramming pictures. It seems to be there's no change in their life. So the question is, who do you want to become? This will be the last bit of the audio for today. Who do you want to become? This is what it boils down to. And when I say become, I'm not saying achieve your dreams and desires, become more richer, get all the success, be well off. I'm not my videos and my talks and my podcasts and my audios are not for those reasons. I'm saying this. Who do you want to become? Not for yourself, but for Jesus Christ, Buddha, faith, and spirituality. Who do you want to become from that? So, not like Twitter posting, Instagram picturing, Facebook watching, YouTube watching, phone texting. Not that, but who do you actually within your life want to become for them? Yes. So like I said, there's two types of people, and this is the end of the podcast now. I'm ready to finish now. There's two types of people. There's the leaders, which are hard to find in society, very hard to find. Then you have the followers. You're either a leader or you're a follower. Leaders lead, followers follow. Leaders are spiritual people. Followers are not spiritual people. Choose which one you want to be a part of. Choose which one you want. You've only got two choices in life anyway, which is this. You either can help other people give back and make a difference. Say in your life you have contributed, or you be like the millions and billions of followers around who never made a difference, who didn't even get an opportunity to impact. They didn't. You could say in their life they didn't help. You could say it in their life they didn't help. They didn't support people. They didn't help. They didn't. You can't see for a follower's life who they helped. You can't see that on a follower's life. I'm just being. I know that might sound a bit like wrong for me to say that in the ending of this podcast today. It might sound a bit wrong for me to say that. You can't see the people they've helped for a follower. You can't see that. But it goes back to that thin line. It's like a thin line. You're a leader or you're a follower. You're helping other people or you're not. You're giving back or you're not. You're making a difference or you're not. You're impacting or you're not. You're significant or you're not. You're inspirational or you're not. You choose what you want. You choose it. Everything in life is down to a choice and a decision you make. Do you want to be a leader? Be someone that goes, okay, do you know what? Yeah, I'm going to listen to Krishnamurti. After listening to this young person for nearly 2 hours to an hour, I'm actually going to watch Krishnamurti's video and check it out for myself. I'm going to say, do you know what? I've been listening to this. I've been hearing what he's saying. I've been processing this young person's own information. I've been processing it, and I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna try and find what I need to do in life. Find what makes me passionate. Find what gives me meaning. Find what gives me value. Find what's important to me. I'm going to find it. I'm going to spend my life finding it. I'm going to try to find it. I'm going to find it. Be that leader, or you're gonna be one of those followers that go, oh, but you know what? I've got to go jobs tomorrow, and the bills need to be paid for, and the house, and I've got cars I need to drive, and you know what? What do you want to choose? What do you want to choose? Do you want to be someone that's really contributing, like helping other people? Do you want to be those people? Or do you want to be those people that always moan, complain, whinge, get vulnerable, get upset, get down, get sad, and their life is not contributing? What do you want? What do you want? And that's the thing. You have to, which is a hard lesson learned, and I will finish after this. You have to either choose for yourself. No one can choose it for you, even down to the people that have helped me all this time. Didn't choose it for me. Paul Dorrington and Karen Michigan didn't choose the path I chose. I chose it for myself. They helped me to get to the path. They didn't choose it for me. I chose it. So who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What impact do you want to have? What difference do you want to make? Those are the questions. The question is, What impact do you want to have, and what difference do you want to make? Those are the questions. What impact do you want to have, and what difference do you want to make? And if you want to make a difference, learn from people, which, yeah, it does sort of come off the topic that I've been talking about. But learn it somewhere, pick it up, find it, and then find your own way. Because for me, like Paul and Karen did for me, they helped me find my own way. Find your own way, and then if you do get opportunity to help, make the most of the opportunity to help. If you do get the opportunity to serve, make the most of the opportunity to serve. If you do give back, make the most of the opportunity to give back, and go on your mission, go on your difference. And that's the way how things really work, when you go on your difference and go on your mission. So I'm going to finish now. I think I've spoken for nearly 2 hours. I've actually gotten so passionate. I've never been this passionate in a long time about a subject, but it's just like the ending of time. Like, it's so inspiring when you can get to that point, and then it's just like you're so free. It's like you don't really worry about things anymore. Like, it's just like, maybe I can't articulate it in words, but you're just free. You know you're free. You know you're able to do what you do, help, serve, give back. And like I've always been saying in my podcast, my audios and my messages, you're making a massive difference. So, okay, thank you for listening now. Take care now. I hope this has helped somebody today. Hope it helps. Thanks. Bye now. Thanks.